We are in Sin City once again for another night of thrilling boxing brought to you by Golden Boy Promotions as undefeated Mexican William Zepeda takes on the United Kingdom's Maxi Hughes. The lightweight contenders battle for contention across multiple sanctioning bodies, with the victor propelling towards IBF and WBA World Championship bouts. The DAZN Boxing Show is presented by Universal Pictures' new action thriller, starring and directed by Dev Patel, Monkey Man, available in theaters across the U.S. on April 5th. Get ready to see how vengeance changes a man. I'm joined now by former junior middleweight champion, DAZN broadcaster, Sergio Mora. And Sergio, William Zepeda is back. And that is starting to become a thing in the boxing world, with Zepeda becoming one of the most entertaining boxers in the lower weight class. He's going to take on Maxi Hughes this weekend. Another step towards a potential world title shot. But even without a title belt, Zepeda has a case to be made to be at least one of the best 135-pounders in the world. The question is, right now, is he the best lightweight in boxing?
No, not yet. I would say he's top 3, maybe top 4, because you have Olympians, you have 3 division champions ahead of him. Shakur Stevenson, of course, you still have the legend in Lomachenko. Tank, who doesn't have the championship resume, but he's a bona fide star, and he's a big puncher. All eyes are on him, and you have that monster there. So Zepeda fits in number 4, number 5. He's definitely top 5, though, and he's punching his way up the rankings, because when you're throwing 1,500 punches per round, he's a power puncher. I mean, he's going out for the knockouts. People love to see that. Can you imagine a fight between Camarón Zepeda versus Tank Davis? I mean, that right there sells itself. But no, to answer your question, you still have guys like Shakur Stevenson at the top of my list, Lomachenko, and of course, Tank.
Correction, 1,500 punches per fight, right? Like, he's not throwing 1,500 punches around. That would be really awesome.
Over 100 around, yeah.
Over 100 around, correct. I can buy that, right? Like, the guys you mentioned are much more accomplished at this point. You know, Tank Davis is one of the best fighters in all of boxing. Great counterpuncher, coming off that win over Ryan Garcia. Shakur Stevenson, 2-division world champion, a legit pound-for-pound guy right now at this stage of his career. So I'm fine with putting Zepeda 3rd, 4th, 5th, wherever you want to place him. I would say this: if Zepeda fought any of those guys, they're kind of coin flip fights, because to defeat William Zepeda, you have either got to match his output, which is next to impossible, or you've got to be able to catch him between the punches, hurt him, and potentially knock him out. And so far, nobody has really been able to do that. So I look at Zepeda and I see a guy with the talent and the ability to beat the Stevensons, to beat the Tank Davises, to beat the top guys, the Lomachenkos, in the 135-pound division. He just needs the opportunity to do that. And he's starting to get that, because you look at some of the wins that Zepeda has had over the last few years. They're getting better and better. I mean, Jojo Diaz at the time was a pretty good win for William Zepeda. He just wiped him out, completely overwhelmed him, blanked him largely on the scorecards. Go fast forward, Mercito Hesta. That was a good win for Zepeda. Stops him in that fight. So he's collecting, B and B minus level wins and slowly progressing towards the top of that weight class. So right now, I think you're right. I think he probably is in that 3 to 5 range. But when the time comes for him to face one of those guys, I think he is going to be competitive, and if not a favorite, against some of them in those fights. Now, the fight he has in front of him is Maxi Hughes. And Maxi Hughes, not that well-known stateside. He had a couple of good wins over in the UK. His most recent fight was a really competitive one against George Kambosos. A lot of people left that fight believing Maxi Hughes did enough to win. Kambosos did. Now he's going to go on and fight Lomachenko for a world title later this year. But Hughes showed something in that fight. Did he show you enough to make you believe he can win a fight like this against Zepeda?
He showed me enough, but not to overwhelm and beat a fighter like Zepeda. But yeah, no, he's a cagey fighter. He's a smart fighter. I think he went on a 7-fight win streak after his last loss. So he gave Kambosos all he can handle, and he deserved to win. I watched that fight last night, and he deserved to win that fight. he has a good left hand. It's going to be a southpaw versus southpaw. You know, we know Zepeda is a buzzsaw southpaw. Comes forward, he attacks you, but he's a smart guy. He throws a lot of jabs as well. So it's not just like he's throwing, you know, caution to the wind, throwing punches everywhere. He does it systematically. He breaks you down. The jab, he goes to the body, picks you up with uppercuts, comes around the guard with right hooks. It's going to be very hard to keep that off. I mean, a jab is not going to be enough. The thing about Maxi Hughes, he has a really good left hand, sneaky left hand. He throws it straight, throws it uppercut, and he sneaks it to the body. Those are two punches that I could actually land on Zepeda, the uppercut and the body shots. If you can get respect and actually not hurt him, because Maxi Hughes only has a handful of knockouts in 29 fights or whatever it is. So he doesn't have the power on his side. But if he can get a good body shot in and continue just picking and poking at the body, then he can get the respect of Zepeda to not let and unleash that onslaught like he normally does. But I just don't see Zepeda respecting his power. Zepeda takes a big punch upstairs. So not only does he give a big punch, he takes a big punch. So I don't see him respecting Maxi Hughes for too long. 5-6 rounds.
Right. Yeah, you look at Maxi Hughes' resume, and there's some good wins on it. Joan O'Carroll was a good win. Kid Galahad was a good win. Yeah, he's got some good wins there. And Kambosos, you know, that was a very, very close fight against a former world champion, a guy who's, you know, beaten some good fighters. So he's coming in with credibility. But again, the two things I said right at the top are to beat Zepeda, you have got to have match the output of him or be able to hurt him. And Maxi Hughes can't do either one of those things. He is a relatively low output guy for this weight class, and he's only got 5 knockouts on his resume. So Zepeda is probably going to come in like a buzzsaw. He's probably going to try to hunt Maxi down, land 10, 12 punch combinations, just overwhelm him in the same way he did Mercito Hesta. Remember the Hesta fight? Like, Hesta in those early rounds was kind of like shrugging off the power of Zepeda, because Zepeda is not a one-punch knockout artist. But by the 5th round, the 6th round, Zepeda was just wearing him down in that fight. So yeah, wearing Hesta down in that fight. So I could see it going kind of similarly in this fight, with Zepeda getting off to a fast start, Hughes, you know, being able to move a little bit early on, but eventually just getting overwhelmed by the combination punching of Zepeda.
That's exactly how I see this fight going. Hesta is another southpaw, but Hesta was a puncher, you know, that from that left-handed stance. Maxi Hughes is not a puncher, you know, so what's he going to respect? If Hesta was able to go, you know, into 5-6 rounds into that fight and holding his own, I mean, he was trying to fight off the ropes. He just couldn't keep off Zepeda because it just too much. But Hesta could punch a little bit, and I just don't think Maxi Hughes doesn't have enough. And if he mixes it up, that's another thing that Hughes does. He has courage, man. So not only can he outbox you and move, but he likes to mix it up sometimes. You don't mix it up against Zepeda. The second he sits down, bites down, and tries to exchange, this fight's over. You don't try to mix up with a fighter like that. Can you keep him out for 12 rounds? Possible, probable, probably not.
Yeah, and for Zepeda, the goal is not just to win, but to look really good. You know, he's going to be on the lookout for a vacant title or, you know, just a quick world title opportunity, but he also wants a big fight wherever that can come. And, you know, we've seen the respect for Zepeda amongst his peers start to grow over the last, you know, year or so, where guys are like, you know, like, that's a real guy. Even Shakur Stevenson has said that's a real guy in this weight class. You heard Oscar De La Hoya say he wants to make a Shakur against Zepeda fight. I would imagine Zepeda is probably going to have to win a world title before Shakur gets in the ring with them. It just doesn't bring as much value unless it's a title unification fight. But I can see Zepeda winning a world title before the end of this year and being in a massive fight at some point in 2025.